repotting. First, I'm starting with the Pinky Violet Queen. And let's see what her roots look like. She's tightly packed in the sphagnum moss. And beautiful root system. Oh wow, look at those roots. Just absolutely gorgeous. They're a bit crushed from transport, but I think they'll do just fine. And our little buds. Her little buds are looking good too. We did lose one right there, but the rest are still to open, so we'll keep a close eye on that. This is a nice 6-inch pot. So her roots will rest in the pot nice and comfortably. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of loose sphagnum moss around the roots. I don't want to compact it too tightly. So I'm going to put some of the moss that she came in, and I'm going to put some fresh moss in as well. Just enough to keep her standing straight. I've got some fresh sphagnum moss, which I've wet, make sure it's nice and moist, and I'll gently pack this around the roots. A little bit around the back, some on the side. And I think that will do. And she's pretty firm. I'm satisfied with the amount of wiggle she's got in the pot. Wow, plant friends, I'm really impressed with the excellent roots that we received on this plant. And that's from Chinois Orchids. And you can order online. Well, they're in Taiwan, so meet them at the shows. Next, I want to see what the roots look like on this Oeceoclades roseovariegata. Once again, this has beautiful foliage, and I also picked this one up from Chinois Orchids. Again, it's nicely packed in. You know what? The roots are looking beautiful. Wow, I love that little growth there. No dead roots at all. Oh, absolutely lovely. I'm going to pot this up in sphagnum moss. I'm going to keep it the same. And we'll just loosely pack the sphagnum moss around. What a cutie. And once again, this one is Oeceoclades roseovariegata. Next plant is the aggregatum. A cute dendrobium with darling little yellow flowers. And let's see what the roots look like. It's actually a very small root system. And this plant will go right back into the nursery spot that she came in. The roots look fair, but I don't want to put her in too big of a pot. I think this is just right. Okay, so we've got a nice mix in here. We've got the sphagnum moss with the chunky bark. Next up, we've got the Rhynchostylis peach. And this one is from magicoasis.ca. You can order plants online and they're normally at most of the plant shows. Check out their website for details on ordering or what events they'll be participating in. The Rhynchostylis gigantea is more of a Vanda type of plant, so I'm just going to loosely pack some sphagnum moss around the root. I don't want to leave this bare rooted where it's going to dry out quickly. The sphagnum moss is going to keep a little moisture around the roots, and I don't have the commitment of watering this every day. Maybe I can water this every 2 to 3 days, or when the sphagnum moss is nice and chunky or crunchy. She's not too firm in the pot, just lightly snug. I might choose to stake this at a later date. Next we've got the digbyana, and this one I purchased it from Tension Orchids. One of my favorite vendors. I love seeing them at the Orchid Show. They always bring some unusual beauties and they bring a lot of selection. For an importer, it's impressive. The root system is a bit skimpy on this one. I wish it was a little bit more robust, but it is in the Cattleya Alliance, so these are pretty resilient, and I am crossing my fingers that this is going to flush out with a lot of roots. So for this one, I've decided to go with a clay pot. It's also in a chunky mixture with little flakes of sphagnum moss. So it's well draining, but just a tiny bit water retentive to keep a little bit of moisture around the Cattleya roots. It's in a clay pot as well, so it dries out quickly. So the sphagnum moss is going to help retain a little bit of humidity. Not a lot of roots to keep this plant nice and stable, so I definitely have to stake it until this one's completely established. Next is a Zygopetalum cross. I've not had luck with a Zygopetalum. I'm hoping with a cross I'll have better success. This one is the La Jolla Delight, and I purchased this one from Path Paradise. She's bursting out of the pot. Perfect time for repotting, and she's working on some little new growth. I purchased it without bloom and with the new growth in hopes that I'll have some blooms in a month or so, or maybe over the summer. Fingers crossed for something. Wow, look at those roots. Now, zygos, they've got that thick, fleshy root, more of a water root type of orchid. They do like a little bit more moisture around the roots, and this one I won't let it dry out. I'm going to keep it moist. I'm going to pot it in sphagnum moss. This way I can control how much moisture is in the pot. And with a clear pot, I'll be able to monitor the roots as well as they grow over time. I'm pushing the plant more towards the back of the pot, slightly off center, to give lots of space for the new growth points to grow. It was a tight squeeze. I probably could have sized up on this one. Wow, what a lush plant. I'm really looking forward to growing this beauty. And I don't mind seeing a little bit of roots. I can monitor them, see that they're nice and plump and well hydrated. That's one of the benefits of these clear pots. Next, we're looking at the bronze maiden, and I'm going to pot this up in one of my holy pots. Now let's take a look at this root system. The full name on this one is Bronze Maiden Rio, and this one I picked up from Tension Gardens. Beautiful roots. Now the only thing is the roots are a bit crushed from being crammed into such a small pot. I'm hoping with the roots being crushed that this will not suffer any setbacks. I'm going to keep her in sphagnum moss. I'm tucking sphagnum moss in the center of the plant and then tucking moss around the root ball. And I'm trying to be gentle ever so lightly. I don't want to cause more damage than what's already there. She's off center, so let's give her a little tweak. Now that looks good. Typically, I don't stake my orchid spikes. I like them to grow and bloom gracefully on their own, but this one was already standing straight up. So to keep the blooms uniform and not being off-kiltered or wonky, I've chosen to stake her. With the holes, I can monitor the roots, lots of air movement. I can stick my finger in and see how chunky or crispy the sphagnum moss is. And I like that over time, the roots will eventually grow out of the pot and look very decorative. Next, we've got Dischidia major Rattle Skulls. First, let's untangle these vines and then get in and take a real close look at the roots. I'm surprised there's not a lot of roots with this plant, but what a bonus. There's more than one plant in here. And we've got a total of 3. This is fantastic. I think instead of potting them together, I'm going to pot them up individually. It's my first Dischidia major Rattle Skulls, and from what I've read, this one likes it moist. So she's going in sphagnum moss, and we're going to keep her nice and damp. First one potted up, and I have to say this is a generous amount of Dischidia, especially for such an uncommon plant. Let's start on plant number 2. And here's plant number 3. Okay, plant friends, we've got the plants all potted up. The only plant that we did not have to pot up is this zygo hybrid. Arlene, Armour, Conching. Look at that. Tons of space in the pot for this to expand and work on new pseudobulbs. Plant friends, it's 1 month later, so let's take a look at the plants. First up is the digbyana, and this one I don't see any new roots emerging. She does have a little eye that she came with, and it doesn't look like it's budged any, but the plant is looking fair for the amount of roots that it came with. Next is the La Jolla Delight, and this one's looking really good. The pseudobulbs are still nice and plump, and the new growth, they're taking their time slowly coming in. I've been keeping the sphagnum moss nice and moist. I've been keeping these new plants under a grow light. They've been under the grow light for about 10 hours each day. And look at those new growth points, looking very good. Those pseudobulbs are coming in very nicely, and it looks like we still have a couple of more months to go before we see some blooms. The plant is so nice and lush that even though it's not in bloom, it's such a pleasure looking at the beautiful green foliage. The Dischidia major Rattle Skulls are still looking nice and lush. I don't see any roots emerging yet in the pot, but these, I'm keeping them nice and moist, and I'm hoping I'm giving them adequate humidity. They do like it nice and humid, and that's one thing that I'm worried about since my home is fairly dry. And once these get established, I'm thinking they're going to need a trellis. They're vining, so they're going to need something to grab onto. Oeceoclades roseovariegata is the only plant that's not doing as well as I would like. When I initially pot this up and researched on it, it mentioned that it's drought tolerant. So I've been keeping it on the dry side, and I think I've been keeping it a little bit too dry. The pseudobulbs are quite shriveled, so I'm going to up the moisture on this one. It's a delicate balance to keep this plant happy. This might be one of the finicky ones. The aggregatum, also known as the Dendrobium lindinii, is doing very well. Typically, this orchid likes a dry period, but since it's a new little baby for me, I've been watering it, and I don't let it dry for too long. I water it about every 7 to 10 days. Some of the orchids' names are always changing, so difficult to keep up with the names. Now in the pot, I don't see any new roots just yet, but the pseudobulbs are looking fairly nice and plump, and the leaves are nice and healthy, beautiful green color on the foliage. So I'm happy with the progress of this orchid. Bronze Maiden is doing fantastic. Look at the blooms on this orchid. The flowers are nice and slightly fragrant, but take a look at these gorgeous leaves. Such a beautiful silver leaf. Still working on our second spike. It's a little bit too early to tell if the spike has stalled or if it will continue to lengthen, but something to look forward to. Hopefully in the warmer months it will encourage this plant to grow a little bit more and probably lengthen that spike. And I like these holy pots where I can stick my finger in and feel the sphagnum moss. It's a little bit chunky right now, so she is due for a little bit of water. Rhynchostylis gigantea has been a bit top heavy, so I've staked her, and I'll keep the stakes in until she pushes out some roots to keep her nice and firm in the pot. This one is the orange peach variety. Beautiful flowers. She was pretty much bloomed out, so her spike did not last long. It stayed in flower for about a week. She's nice and staked up, and since she's a vandaceous type of orchid, I didn't want her too jam-packed in this pot with the sphagnum moss, so it's just lightly covering the roots to keep them from drying out too fast. Check out the flower. It's humongous for such a small plant. It's the Arlene Armour Conchins, and this one was from Sunset Valley, one of their hybrids. It's the only plant that I did not repot. Now zygos, they bloom on a new growth. She's got a new growth coming, so I'm hoping in a couple of months we'll have another flower spike. Vanda Pinky Violet Queen is super fragrant, and this one is just slowly working on opening the buds. It was actually such a treat watching this grow over the past month, and I'm surprised at how slowly the flowers opened, and I'm so happy the buds did not blast. Since it's a vandaceous orchid, this one could actually be bare rooted, but she's lightly potted in the sphagnum moss. We did suffer a little bit of bud blast, the tippity top, but the rest of the buds are looking great. plant friends, these mini Vandas are so interesting. Now that I have one in my collection, it's really sparked my curiosity in collecting a few more of these. If you have the opportunity to get one, definitely, I recommend it. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and follow me on Instagram at Life of Belina.